Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for your time this evening or this afternoon, and I really hope you enjoy the presentation. Just to give you a little introduction to who I am and my history with tourism. My name's Kim, and I joined safari and tourism in the early 1990s in Botswana. I actually studied nature conservation and fell in love with Botswana as sort of the what I would say the diamond in Africa's crown of tourism, just the most phenomenal wilderness country. And I came up here and I guided for 12 years before moving into management. And after operational management, I moved into sales and marketing, mostly focused on the European, UK, and the North American market. And after that, I came back to operations again and have been operating and managing lodges and camps in Botswana for the last decade. Suffice it to say that I have an unending love of nature, and more specifically, an unending love of Botswana. So I'm just going to dive straight into this presentation. I'm talking about Ker Downey. Ker Downey is actually one of the brands that are owned by the parent company, Chobe Holdings. Chobe Holdings is a Botswana stock-listed entity, and it has a broad range of companies that it owns. The main lodge brands that the holding company owns are Desert and Delta and Ker Downey. And then we also have got our own air charter company located here in Maun with us, called Safari Air, as well as then an air maintenance organization that looks after the maintenance of these aircraft. And this is the backbone of the business that supports the lodge operations in northern Botswana. So Ker Downey is actually one of the oldest safari brands in Southern Africa and certainly in Botswana. And the company actually shifted from hunting tourism to photographic style tourism in the early to mid 1980s. And so it really was one of the forerunners. And the company was at that time owned by Ted Turner. And it was a hunting company, and Ted decided to shift it into photographic. And so some of the concessions that I'll talk to you about actually relate back to these concessions that shifted into being the first photographic concessions in the country. So really a pioneer. When you think about guests traveling to Botswana and you think about what experiences are on offer in the country, the first thing that you think about is the quality of the wildlife experience. And Ker Downey have access to some of the most extraordinary exclusive wild areas. All of these areas are private areas, except for one in Moremi Game Reserve called Akuti, which I'll talk to you about. And all of them have very few numbers of guests going to them. And so what that means is that your guest is never going to be rushed at a sighting. The areas are enormous, and they're wilderness, and they're managed by nature and not the hand of man. And the experiences that one has in these places are very raw. They can be very visceral, with a hunting kind of scene, and they can also be very nostalgic and very romantic and beautiful. Africa does have some of the most beautiful sunsets, and so we talk about our experiences as being raw. We don't get involved in any of the sightings, so what you see is what you see. And we have these incredible guides that lead our guests on these journeys in a manner that is safe, exciting, and life enriching. And yet we clothe this experience with a refined style of hospitality, friendly, warm, and really comfortable. So looking at our people, we have about 380 people working for Ker Downey in Botswana. 98.6% of our staff are actually citizen staff. We have a very low number of expatriate foreign staff that are in the country. And these people, many of them, have grown up in rural areas surrounding these nature preserves, these wilderness areas. So they come with this rich knowledge, this rich natural understanding of their environment. And most of these staff have slowly but surely uplifted themselves, built themselves in the business supported by us. We're very committed to research. We support a variety of different conservation projects. And we also are involved in endangered species monitoring and management. And to just mention a few animals there, wattled crane as an example of a threatened species, pangolin, and then obviously megafauna such as the rhino. And then we moved earlier this year to being 100% solar powered in our camps. The solar panels that you see over here are actually all belonging to Danaka in the Kalahari. So to start off with where we operate in 2 different countries. The first, which I'm going to speak about very briefly, and I must implore you to come and join me on a presentation on the 8th of January. I'm talking about Lua Plains, and it's a destination specialist training that's going to be focused on why this national park is so special. We have just concluded a lease term with African Parks, who are the custodians and the conservators of Lua Plain National Park in the very western part of Zambia. It is about 2 hours, just over 2 hours by a Cessna Grand Caravan flight west from Lusaka, which is in the central part of the screen. And I'll just mention a few points about this incredible camp now, so that you can understand why it is so special and why we got involved in it. So Lua Plain is actually a park that is around about 7,000 square kilometers in extent. That's around about 4.8 thousand odd square miles, if my mathematics is correct. And what's really amazing about this national park in the near vicinity of the Zambezi River is that there is the second largest migration of wildebeest in Africa. There's 250,000 wildebeest that are in a circular migration pattern here. Our camp is in the south, where the word January is, where the month of January is listed, and the wildebeest arrive in this area in about the first week or 2 of October. They hang around with us all the way through to March, which is when the rut actually happens. And then after they've been in that area, they then start to slowly but surely shift off to their northern range. The nice thing about this migration is that this is a compact migration. So it's actually very small, and it travels over a reasonably large area itself, but it is accessible from our camp for the vast majority of the year in question. And what we have done in this area is we've put together 3 night itineraries. The one itinerary starts on a Monday, the other itinerary starts on a Friday, and you fly out from Lusaka after arrival in Lusaka. The plane overnights with you, and then after 3 nights, the plane departs in the early morning, getting you back to Lusaka at around about 11:30, which is perfectly in time for you to be able to then connect onto the rest of the main circuit in Zambia, being South Luangwa or the Lower Zambezi. So we've worked out a way to be able to incorporate this incredible migration safari into the main circuit of Botswana. This is a massive plain. The grasslands stretch to the horizon. You can see the curvature of the earth, and this migration is really special. The predators in this area are lion, cheetah, and surprisingly, the dominant predator in this area is actually spotted hyena. But beyond the wildebeest, there are a variety of other species here. Southern crowned crane, it's one of the most important breeding areas and conservation areas for that species of crane. There's also a lot of wattled crane. And the southern crowned crane come in here in massive flocks. And this is the only bird that actually can count. Unfortunately, it can only count to 1. Because when they fly over you, they have this amazing unique call that goes 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 as they come flying over you. So one of those wonderful life enriching experiences. There are actually 350 species of bird here. The lodge is a beautiful facility, playing host for up to 15 guests. We do kayaking, we do canoeing such as you see over here. This area has got an amazing array of flowering plants that come to life in the early part of the rainy season. This is a pushback system, so the water from the Zambezi actually is what fills part of Lua Plain, and then it drains back out again come April onward. And as you can see, the actual camp is located against one of these small rivulets, and these are the rooms themselves. There is your bedroom on the left, the lounge in the middle with your desks, and then the bathroom with an indoor and outdoor shower on the right-hand side of the screen. It is a beautiful facility, and certainly is an iconic area and an iconic experience in Zambia. So shifting into Botswana, we have got a variety of different products in a variety of different habitat types. And that's actually super important when one considers a safari to northern Botswana. You want to try and make sure that your guests are being hosted in areas that offer a variety of unique wildlife, as well as a variety of different experiences and activities. So we have a property just north of the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. It's 86,000 acres in extent, or about 35,000 hectares. And this is your typical Kalahari first land experience, ancient rolling dunes, and we'll talk about that in a moment. In the Okavango Delta, we've got 5 different lodges. In the west of the Delta, we've got a camp called Kanana. In the south and in the east, we've got a camp called Akuti on the Kakanika Lagoon itself, an iconic, massive lagoon in the Okavango. Shindi Footsteps are in the Shindi concession in the central north of the Delta. And then in the far north of the Delta is a brand new camp that we're building called Muksa, something that we're very proud of, and that's going to be opening on the 20th of March. And I'll show you a few renders on that in a few moments. But going back to our locations, what's really key about location in Botswana is that you've got broadly 2 different types of experience. The one experience takes you into a national park, which is in a way somewhat limited by the fact that you cannot go off-road to premium game sighting, you cannot do a night drive, and you can't do a walk. But you are able to do game drives by day and also boat cruising, as well as Makoro in certain areas. But we are offering primarily experiences in private concessions and private conservancy areas. So a private conservancy area is an area of land that either comes on a long lease or is a concession area that has multiple land users. So Muksa is a conservancy that has multiple land users in the actual concession itself. It is zoned, and I'll explain the zonation to you just now, and effectively operates like a private concession. And then we have our products in the Shindi and the Shindi Footsteps area. Danaka is a private conservancy by virtue of the fact that we have a 99-year lease over there, and we're located in that area for the next 95 odd years that are remaining. We also recently brought on a hotel in Maun called Gray's Eden. It is Botswana's only luxury small boutique sanctuary hotel. It is a beautiful facility that overlooks the Tamalakani River, and it offers for wonderful, comfortable accommodation, in fact, luxurious accommodation, an incredible restaurant experience, and it has got other lovely experiences such as spa on it. It's a great place for guests to relax prior to a safari or after a strenuous safari before they make that arduous journey back home again. So if you had to look at our lodges, I've been working in Botswana for 30 years now, and one of the things that is really important to many of us that have been here for quite some time is that it's really crucial you build lodges that are firstly in keeping with the environment. And all of our lodges, as you can see by this image of Shindi over here, are built respectfully into the actual environment itself in a way that is unobtrusive, that fits with the local theme of the area. So you'll see some of the decor of Shindi matches the thinking of water and the colors of water, as well as some of the forest themes. And also what we build our lodges with is gum pole and canvas and thatch. And what that means basically for your guests is that in these camps, your guests are going to see wildlife, they're going to hear wildlife, they're going to smell wildlife, and they're going to hear wildlife. So it really is an environment where we try to invite nature in. All of our camps have a single strand of electricity around them at a height which is to stop elephants from coming in camp. But I must say that for the rest of the wildlife species, animals can and very much do walk through these areas. So Shindi has got hippo that walk through the area, lion and leopard from time to time, as well as a variety of other species such as hyena. So for that reason, we have a minimum age of 6 years of age. There is no maximum, thank goodness for me. And we do consider taking children younger than 6, although that's on a special request basis. All of our camps are really small and very intimate. All of our staff have been working for us for an average 7 years. And so what that means is that you have this warm service style and hospitality this feeling of home, family style dining, although private dining is possible for special occasions, and it's all clothed in this incredible nature. This is what some of the camps look like, just to give you a little taster in terms of the style of our lodges and the style of our rooms. So really comfortable, really high quality interior furnishings, fantastic experiences inside camp and outside of camp on activities. The key unique selling point about Ker Downey, we have beautiful camps, as I've shown you. I'm going to show you some more beautiful camps, but it all really boils down to what is the quality of your experience when you're out on an activity with guests. And the quality of your experience when you're out on an excursion is related to the quality of your guide. And I'm very proud to say that 100% of our guides in our conservancy and concession areas are walking qualified. We're the only company in northern Botswana that can say that. What it means is that our guides have got years of experience. It means that they've hosted many guests. It means that they have studied further and longer so that they can be expert trackers, so that they can take your guests on a walk at any time on a game drive and be storytellers. And many of these guys have actually been photographically trained. We close some of our lodges in the early part of each year so that we can do specific specialized guide training with our guiding team, all in an effort to make sure that the quality of the interpretive experience for your guests is world class. Our vehicles have all been modified this year. They are 6-seat configuration vehicles. You can see that each seat guarantees a window or a huge opening. The windows are obviously gone. But the nice thing about these vehicles is that they can be very, very easily modified. So if you've got a specialized photographer who wants to actually take some seats out over here, take the center consoles out so that he can move more freely around, or she can move more freely around, it's very easy for us to do. Very easy. It's 4 bolts. We can take a row of seats out at a time. We can even take the consoles out, or we can add extra seats in if you've got a group of 7 guests and you want an extra seat in the back. The roof or the canopy can also be taken off with ease. There are only just 4 bolts. 2 at the back. You can see the 2 silver round bolts there. And then there's another 2 just behind where this photograph has been taken from. And we can take the covers off. And for winter, we certainly do take the covers off. So this is a really functional vehicle. At the back, there is a cooler box. There's always drinks. We've always got a tea basket with us. It's a really functional vehicle to ensure that guests can really enjoy their experience out in the bush and have all their creature comforts at the same time. So just quickly talking about the rates over here, we have got 2 different types of lodges. We've got the lodges that I've been showing you, which are Shindi, Kanana, Akuti, and Danaka. Those at the most expensive in the peak season rack rate out at $1,610 per person per night sharing. Our second style of more adventurous types of camps are Shindi, Footsteps, and Muksa, and they rack rate out on a 1 to 4 night stay at around about $1,175. But an important point that is often forgotten by our trade partners and our agents internationally is that because of our diversity of experiences and diversity of environments and ecosystems in which we operate, it often is of advantage to combine 2 or even 3 of our lodges together in an itinerary. Because when you get up to the 5 and 6 night rate or the 7 to 8 night rate, you can get between a 7 and a 15% discount for the guests on their itinerary. And you can choose how to utilize that, share some of it with the guests or hold it as margin. That is a choice. That's up to you. But essentially, it is mostly used as a discount for long stay to guests. But what you can see, and the very important point, and why I put this slide in here, is just to show you that we have 6-star concessions in terms of the quality of experiences. They are first class. Our hospitality is first class as well, but we're not chasing the ultra luxury segment of the market. What we offer is a very honest, very comfortable, homely, traditional style of safari experience. As I mentioned earlier, Safari Air is our carrier. We've got 6 Cessna Grand Caravans that take 12 guests. We've got one, what we call a baby van, which takes only 10 guests. And then we also have got 5 air vans, which are mostly utilized for the small intercamp hops in the Okavango Delta. So moving on to the Kalahari, you can see Maun is to the north of Danaka. Danaka is on the northern boundary of the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. And it's a really important point that I want to give you now, is that the flight time from Maun to Danaka is only 45 minutes. In fact, if you've got a tailwind, it can sometimes be down to about 35 minutes. And what's important about this is that due to the close proximity of Danaka to Maun, when you're returning back to go into the Okavango Delta, unlike the camps in the Machadi, we directly fly over Maun and go directly into the Delta. So we'll get you from Danaka directly into the Okavango Delta within an hour. And that's a really important point, because what it does is it actually shows that Danaka is and can be considered as part of the main tourism circuit of northern Botswana. You can give your guests the Kalahari wildlife experience without having to fly too far. We have also even commemorated the flying price between Maun and Danaka and Maun and the Okavango Delta, which also makes it, from a price perspective, a price point of view, very accessible and a unique opportunity. So the farm, as I mentioned, is 35 hectares. It is the quintessential Kalahari habitat. It's got these ancient dunes, massive pan systems, oryx, springbuck, huge herds of eland, zebra are down there, wildebeest, and a plethora of other species. We've got black-maned Kalahari lions and leopard, wild dog, Cape fox, caracal, and a very healthy population of brown hyena. It's really lovely in Danaka because we've got 3 of these sunken hides. This is great for photographers, but it's also just as great for the average naturalist who just wants to go out and really enjoy the wildlife that comes to drink. We've got 13 of these water holes throughout the property, and they really do offer some phenomenal photographic opportunity. And this is one of my favorite photographs of this male lion. You can see he's got 2 different colors to his eye. But he's a black-maned Kalahari lion, so he's about 10 to 15% larger than the savanna lions up in the Okavango. So he's a brute. He's got big tufts of black hair that grow out the back of his elbows, and his hair even grows all the way to the base of his chest under his stomach. He's a magnificent beast. And pardon me, this was a photograph of him coming down to slake his thirst. And many of these animals come down to drink at certain times of the day. Brown hyena choose usually to come down to drink at sunset. That's a fantastically rare species of hyena to see, this shaggy-coated brown, long-haired hyena. But there are a variety of other species that come in as well. That's a little slender mongoose coming in to have a little close look at the camera. And then there's a very, very good variety of beautiful, colorful birds that are present in the Kalahari region. Violet-eared waxbill, black-cheeked waxbill. These are quelea, and they really are very photogenic, and certain birds come in at certain times. Besides the waterholes, we also have got the major complement of our staff are the Bushman people. Many of these guys come from the Khansi area, and they have this incredible natural knowledge which has been passed on to them by their parents. They take us on guided walks, and one of the really exciting guided walks that we do in this area, apart from learning of the medicinal uses of plants or how you get water in the desert, just as life-changing are the sleep-out opportunities in Ker Downey, and Danaka is no exception. We have this fabulous sleep-out over here that is on a raised platform. We have a fantastic sundowner deck, and we also have actually built a large bushman hut on the side of one of these waterholes, which we're going to start using as a sleep-out opportunity for guests as well. If you hear a noise, an animal drinking in the night, jump out of bed and have a look at what's at the waterhole on a full moon night or at a floodlit waterhole. So Danaka really is a very special Kalahari property. This is the main area of the lodge. It looks out onto a pumped waterhole. And the rooms, as you can see, are intentionally decored in a very neutral tone. And that is because the Kalahari, for a large portion of the year, is actually quite tan in color, quite light brown in color. And so the interiors emulate that kind of feel. So shifting up into the Okavango Delta now, if you can imagine you're in the Danaka area and then you jump on your aeroplane, you've got that tan landscape, this flat landscape with these gentle undulating sand dunes, and you fly past Maun, over Maun, and you're flying into the Okavango Delta. And as you fly into the Okavango Delta, it becomes greener and greener and more verdant and shimmering waters beneath you. And you see the odd herd of elephant walking, or the odd journey of giraffe ambling over in another direction. And you land at Akuti. Akuti is located in the Kakanika region, which is where that orange marker is. And Kakanika is an area where sandfelt tongue snakes its way up from the Kalahari into the delta. And what's important about this area is that the Monachira Channel is what feeds the water to this area. And the Monachira Channel is actually the largest channel flowing in the Okavango Delta as we currently speak. Faulting has shifted the water to flow on the north and the east predominantly at the moment. And so what happens is this water has a lot of nutrients, has some nutrients in suspension. And these nutrients get caught up on a huge lagoon at Kakanika, and they dump their nutrients there. It's a nutrient dumping area. And those nutrients are what results in this being one of the most productive wildlife areas. You can just see this image over here as an example of the riverine forest, the ginormous trees in this area. This is the main deck of Akuti itself. Akuti looks out over this wonderful Kakanika lagoon. On the left, you've got the swimming pool and the dining room. And on the right, you've got the lounge and the bar. Outside in front is obviously the evening fireplace. And it's a fantastic lodge that hosts a maximum of 16 guests. Really small, very personal. There are only 7 rooms here, 2 family rooms and 5 twins, which can be converted to doubles. So this gives you an idea of the habitat. You can just see there's riverine forest, floodplains, grassland, marshland. This is Cathedral Mopani woodlands. And this is what gives rise to a huge diversity of wildlife and a great density of wildlife. And because of that, the predators follow where the antelopes are. Fabulous lions in this area, a good many leopard, fantastic area for wild dogs. And from time to time, cheetah come to this area as well. Good for buffalo, great for elephant. And sometimes you see scenes like this where the buffalo chases the lion up the tree. But one of the other really nice things to do in the Kakanika region, because that major water channel is there, is to go out on boat cruises. We go out on boat cruises like this, which are we call these the swamp cruises. They're really lovely and they're nippy. They can get you into a number of smaller channels. But we also have commissioned the construction of a barge. This barge will be for a maximum of 12 guests only. And we intend to use it for 2 distinct purposes. The first one is to have cruising barge brunches, where you'll have a chef on board, you'll have your waiters on board and a barman on board, and you'll have your lunch slowly but surely cruising between these massive lagoons. There is an upstairs deck, and this becomes really meaningful for guests who are looking to look over the papyrus which lines these channels and look all the way along to the edge of the lagoon out into the forest. It's really amazing when you do this at sundowner time. And I think that this product itself, this barge will be a game changer for Akuti in terms of its attraction. It's a unique selling point for the camp. The camp was completely rebuilt at the beginning of the year. We lifted all of the decking, replaced many parts of the substructure, and rebuilt the tented structure back on top again. This is as you walk through the entrance. It's been decored to look like the inside of a basket, a traditional basket. You look out onto the view, and this is looking back in from the deck into the dining room, and then this is the actual lounge itself with the bar. Very nice copper brass feel, together with rich leather colors. Nice library in the back for guests to have a look at a book they want to read. Some lovely games, and it's a really lovely, small, intimate camp. These are the rooms. All of the rooms have got indoor-outdoor showers, and all of the beds are facing out onto the view itself. It commands a fabulous presence, and it's a really comfortable guest experience in the room. We've got overhead fans in the actual mosquito nets itself, and then a standing fan, which you can see in the corner. And behind the bed is a desk with the hairdryer, etc., and then obviously an indoor bathroom as well as an outdoor shower. So moving up into my favorite area of the Okavango Delta, Kanana, there's an expression in Maun, which is a dry delta is a productive delta. And as I mentioned earlier, the flooding and the tectonic movements in the Okavango Delta have meant that most of the water is actually flowing down the northern and the eastern side of the Okavango Delta to the south and the west of Chiefs Island, which is that big brown island in the middle of that image over there of the Delta. That area has short-lived water, which arrives in May and goes again in October. But that short-lived nature of the water's arrival and departure creates these green flushes of vegetation. And those green flushes of vegetation attract wildlife from all over. The concession is to the south of Moremi Game Reserve. Our northern boundary of Kanana is Moremi. And what you can see where Kanana is named over there is our concession. The area is actually under the substrate by about 2 feet under the substrate there. It's full of peat, which is a very spongy vegetation substance, which becomes coal as the next step. But this holds water and it holds a huge amount of nutrients. And even in the drought that we had of this year, this Kanana area was fantastically productive and it remained green for most of the time. And this is actually the view from the Kanana main area. It is a beautiful environment. You can see for miles and miles into the distance from the main area. It's one of those iconic Okavango scenes. The forests here, to me, look like they're on steroids. They're massive, and it's because they're fed by this water and they're fed by the nutrients in that water from that peat that's under the surface. This was as the flood was arriving. It's there from May to October, and what it does is it creates this beautiful flush, and it attracts wildlife from all over in the Okavango Delta to come and one, slake their thirst, but mostly come and seek sustenance. These are two of the 4 big new boys that have just moved into this area. As you can see, they're magnificent fellows, and they have now made sure that every female lioness in our concession is pregnant. So our pride that is currently 16 is more or less going to move up to at least 25 or 28 during the course of the early part of next year, which is going to be fantastic. Superb leopard in this area. There's good wild dog in the area, but we also have got some really nice specials here as well. Serval is most often seen in the Kanana area. We have a den where we have located Aardwolf, and they moved between 2 sites so far that we found, so we see them on a regular basis. That's a very scarce little guy to find and see. And one of the really special experiences here, in fact, it's completely unique to us in Kanana, and it's the only one of this magnitude in the Delta, is Mokoro, which is a traditional dugout canoe, which is poled by a guide from the main area into what is known as a heronry. This heronry attracts between 50,000 and 70,000 birds. You have everything there from 5 or 6 species of storks, the marabou storks, the saddle-billed storks, the yellow-billed storks, to egrets, a variety of species there, great white, intermediate, little, and then all the way down into the herons as well. We've got a variety of smaller herons in there, including the huge one, the Goliath heron, that comes to breed there at times as well. And imagine slowly coming in here silently, quietly by Mokoro. So this is a canoeing experience with a purpose. It is entirely located in the Kanana concession. They're there and they're breeding between May. They depart in October, they depart in early November, late October. And it's a really magical experience. See, not everything about safari has to be about, the big tusks, the big trunk, the claws and the teeth, the incisors. There are so many other incredible experiences, and this for Kanana is one of the really special ones. Underneath these little areas where these birds are nesting, you have crocodiles, little crocodiles. So you'll see these little crocodiles cruising past your Mokoro, and they're on the hunt for chicks that fall out of the nest. Pink-backed pelicans, a very rare pelican, is also on this island. Even from time to time, the raptors are there because obviously it's a plethora of opportunity for them to predate We're doing some work on Kanana, and this will happen between January and March of this year. We're opening in March again. The red area there is where the new main area is going. You will come in from behind, past the current main ginormous strangler fig tree that's around the main area currently, and you'll walk into the lounge. The lounge will have the bar next to it, separating it from the dining room. In front of the lounge is a 1.2 meter drop, or a 4-foot drop down to the large, generous fireplace area for nighttime conversations. In front of the dining room will be a 2-foot or a 600 mil drop to get you down onto an outside al fresco a la carte dining deck. To the right of the dining deck is a Pizza Hut, and we're decorating the Pizza Hut like one of those nests. So that image that I showed you here, you can imagine that now being constructed on top of our Pizza Hut. So once again, back to the interiors. Because this area is evergreen, it has fantastic green grasslands most of the year. It has got these wonderful evergreen forests with a variety of evergreen trees. And then the palette that comes through from the color of the eggs in the bird's nest. We've obviously got this green and this very earthy type of palette coming through. So these are just some images of the theme that we're going to be moving forward with in the dining room and the main area. And then in the bedroom area, we're actually expanding the size of the bathroom. We're increasing the size of the front deck. We're thatching the entire lodge, including the guest room, so it'll be cooler in summer and warmer in winter. And yes, and this is the interiors of the actual rooms itself. So really beautiful, well-appointed rooms. And to think that this camp is selling at a rack rate in peak season of $1,465 per person per night, it represents seriously good value for money. It is a phenomenal concession. I personally rate it within the top 5 high-quality concessions in the Okavango Delta. It is that good. I'm a bit of a word nerd, and I learned this fantastic noun the other day, and the noun is novolunosis. And what it means is the wonderment from the experience of gazing upon stars in the sky at night. How lovely is that? And at Kanana, we have this fantastic sleep out as well. And as you can see, the stars in this area are nothing short of magnificent, breathtaking. So pressing on now, we're going to move to the northern part of the Okavango Delta at a brand new camp that we're building called Maksa. So Maksa is located in a conservancy area, and what you'll see in this conservancy is that I have placed 2 orange lines, and I've placed orange circles. Where the orange circle is where we're primarily operating, primarily in that area because of the inability to stretch too much further to the north, because a massive water channel flows to the north of camp. That channel, which feeds the cylinder spillway, comes from the Okavango Delta, and you can see the cylinder spillway snaking off to the right-hand side of the image from that camp Motswiri. And we have this fantastic facility that we've built and are in the process of finalizing on the side of a huge lagoon called the Maksa Lagoon, set to open on the 20th of March. Because we're located on the southern side of that massive channel, we are having that area completely exclusively for ourselves. And what you can see from these images over here is that it is God's country. It's the most fantastic walking terrain, fantastic, beautiful open channels, which are great for Makoro, great for walking safaris, great for game drives by day and night. And this is an image of well, it's a render really of the main area that's being constructed, with some of the rooms hidden amongst the trees over there, overlooking Maksa Lagoon. If you traveled with me there now to Maksa Lagoon, there'd be between 40 and 70 hippos sitting in the lagoon in front of you. It's a bit noisy at night, a bit of sloshing about there by hippos, but no less impressive. So that's Maksa Lagoon, and in the background, that evergreen forest back there is where the camp is being built. It's a great place for lion. There's great hippo numbers, as I mentioned. It actually is on one of the main corridor routes for elephants that seasonally move between the Okavango and and the Caprivi strip of Namibia into southern Angola. Fabulous birding. And then the camp itself is a slightly simpler camp in the sense that it brings nature closer to you. We have this this lounge on the one side. It's a split main area, so you have a lounge and a bar. And then on the next image from the lounge, you can see the dining room to the right in the background there. There's a wonderful termite mound that we have in the background converted into a pizza oven. So you'll have your breads baked there, and we want to have this much more convivial, homely type of environment where a lot of your meals and your breads and your pizzas and your muffins are baked in front of you. There's a cargo net in 2 or 3 locations in the camp. You can see it there on the middle left-hand side of the screen. And that's a fantastic place where guests are able to climb up the ladder, younger guests, and lie in the cargo net and enjoy this fantastic view out onto the lagoon and watch the passing by of whatever animal is coming by. The rooms are really comfy. There are 4 twin rooms like this that can be converted into doubles. And there's 1 family room for 4 guests. So a maximum of 12 guests in this camp. So it really does behoove a multi-gen family. It's a great camp for individuals as well. But if you have got a larger group of about 8 to 10 guests, this is a great camp to take over privately. So moving into the Shindy area, if you recall, the Shindy area is to the north of Chiefs Island. We've got 2 lodges in the concession itself. This concession was actually the very first concession in Botswana that was legally shifted from being hunting to photographic. And we've had this concession for more than 40 years. So you can imagine how relaxed and calm the wildlife is in this area. There are 2 camps here, Shindy, which is in the south of the concession, and Shindy Footsteps to the north. But what's really important in this area to note is that the main channel that's flowing down into Kakanika, that Moana Chira channel that I was telling you about, is actually the main channel flowing past Shindy. So the south of the concession is fantastic for boating, fantastic for catch and release fishing, fantastic for Mokoro experiences, and all that's associated with getting out onto the water. But because it has fantastic land experiences to the north, this is more than likely, together with Akuti, our very best combination camp areas. If you've got guests and they're on a fixed 3, and you've got 3 nights that are available for the Okavango, this is your product to choose, because you can get to all of the main experiences and the main activity types as well. You can do game drives by day and night, walking. You can do Mokoro, boating, catch and release fishing. It's the vast majority of excursions that you can do in the concession. A really magnificent site, and you'd do yourself a disservice if your guest didn't stay here for 3 nights at a time. This is a good look at the camp itself. You saw this image earlier on, but to the south, everything to the bottom of our screen and to the south from that location is actually mostly water and islands. And most of the area to the north is game viewing. So it really does have this wonderful boating. You boat on this wonderful lagoon. You go through a couple of snaking little channels, and you get out onto another lagoon called Uptree Lagoon. I asked the other day why Uptree, and apparently one of the first guides that came to look at the area got chased up the tree by buffalo, and that's where the people found him later that night. And it is also, as I mentioned, a phenomenal game area. Great predators, all the major predators, great densities of both aquatic species of mammals as well as the more terrestrial species such as zebra, wildebeest, buffalo, giraffe, good leopard, good cheetah as well. The lodge is very interesting. It's got a split level suite. You've got an upstairs dining area with a small satellite lounge on either side, downstairs fireplace, and an outdoor dining area. That's the view from the dining room out. And as I mentioned earlier, whenever you can get elevation in the Okavango Delta, take it, because that's where you have these epic views. That's the lounge looking back onto the dining room, and then the other lounge on the other side, and the outdoor dining area. The rooms are beautifully appointed. All of our rooms next year in Akuti, Shindy, Danaka, and Kanana will have bar fridges as well as coffee and tea stations, as well as a small enhancement that we're doing at the end of the year. And again, indoor, outdoor showers, beautifully appointed bathroom. So Shindi Footsteps is in the same ilk as what Maksa is. It's a very, very small camp. In fact, it is smaller than Maksa itself. It only has 4 rooms. It's in the north of the concession, and you can already see how different the habitat is. The riverine woodland gives way to scrub acacia. It gives way to blue bush clusters, like what you can see in this image over here. Sausage trees in the background, leadwoods. And not far away, just to the south, are these riverine woodlands as well. Fantastic game in this area as well. Slightly drier, magical walking terrain. And we have a little camp over here that is exclusive for a maximum of 8 guests. There's a split main area again, your dining room and then your lounge. We're in the lounge looking at the fireplace over to the dining room. And then beyond the dining room, just in the foreground, is a beautiful pool for guests to go and cool off in. The rooms are seriously well appointed, overlooking this wonderful lagoon, outdoor relaxing deck, as well as then a very comfortable, well appointed bedroom inside, as well as then the bathroom and an outdoor shower. And moving across to Maun, we've got this wonderful small boutique luxury hotel, the very first boutique luxury hotel in Botswana, actually, and certainly the first in Maun. It has a cliff wine cellar for private dining for guests. There are 7 spirited cottages and 5 luxury villas. It's for a maximum of 24 guests. It has a magical restaurant. There's a wonderful spa here. That is the wine cellar in the cliff face over here. All of these rooms look out onto the river itself. But this image was taken just as we opened, and everything here that you see now is completely green. So imagine that lawn on the lower level has now extended all the way around the main buildings, as well as around the actual guest areas. It's a sanctuary and an oasis. So this is looking into the main area. There's the outdoor dining out on the terrace. There is a bar behind the lounge, a bar behind the outdoor lounge over there, and then there's 2 other indoor lounges over here separated by an internal fireplace. The villas look like this. They're all beautifully appointed, very comfortable. They've got air conditioning. There's a fantastic bathroom with both a shower, his and hers vanity area, as well as then this beautiful shower. And the cottages have a very similar bathroom, except it doesn't have the bath itself. And the rooms look like this. So it really is a fantastic location for guests to enjoy an overnight, relax from the ardor of travel all the way across here, or after a strenuous safari, seeing a whole lot of wildlife and going out at the crack of dawn, exhausting yourself, having a night in Maun before pressing on your way home. It is offered on a bed and breakfast basis, and it is becoming more and more popular, especially for guests at the end of a safari, as well as for guests that arrive early on the flight that's coming in on Ethiopian Airlines that arrives on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday at 12:30 in the afternoon, just after midday. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. Thank you very much, and I open the floor up to questions. I hope everybody enjoyed that.